Hello BookTube. Today I'm going to be doing the Ride or Die book tag. It was created by Ledette M. And I first learned about this tag from Brian of Bookish. And I will link both down below. So, question number one, or prompt number one. The BFF. A book not everyone loves, but has been with you since the start. I'm going to go with one of the oldest books I have in my collection. This is Mysterious Skin by Scott Heim. I'm not entirely familiar with its critical reception, but I'm taking this literally as a book I've had for a long time. And I've had this copy in my collection for going on 20 years now. It's about two young men who were abused by their Little League coach. One of them goes on to become a male prostitute. The other one goes on to believe he was abducted by aliens. And the novel follows both characters coming to terms with their abuse. And it is very, very powerful. It's been way too long since the last time I've read it, and I definitely should really give this another go here in the not too distant future. Number two, The Long Drive. A book ideal for long journeys. Well, I think The Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien definitely fits that bill, given that this is a story about a long journey. And it is also quite the chunkster. So if you are listening to this on audiobook in a car ride or something like that, this would be perfect. Yeah. And Lord of the Rings really needs no introduction. Excuse me. The Newcomer. Or number three, The Newcomer. A recent read you can't stop talking about. That's going to be Big Wonderful Thing by Stephen Harrigan. Again, probably would also be a good book for a long journey, as it is a pretty long book. And quite enjoyable. So this is just a large, expansive history of the state of Texas. And it is phenomenal. Number four, The Quiet One. A book you reach for when you need some peace and rest. I'm going to go with the works of Agatha Christie. I'm just going to hold up this one. But I've read, like, a few years ago when I was in a book slump or reading slump, I read Death on the Nile, and it got me out of my slump. Late last year, I read Evil Under the Sun, and it really got me out of the slump. So definitely I would say Agatha Christie novels are quite comforting and really sort of fit that bill. Number five, The Outgoing One. A book A book ideal for those antisocial social occasions, which I really don't quite think I understand the point of that question. I'm not entirely sure I understand it. So I went with a book that would be considered probably rather sort of, maybe not quite antisocial, but would be Yeah. So I went with Anatomy of Criticism, 4 essays by Northrop Frye, which is a book of literary criticism and literary theory from about 50, 60 years ago now. Not necessarily terribly influential. I think certain strands of contemporary literary criticism may refer back to Northrop Frye, but not a whole lot. I think he's largely been superseded by now. But yeah, I quite enjoyed it when I read it eons ago. Number 6, The Guilty Pleasure. I picked 2 books. One that is a book I've had for quite a long time. It's been a while since I've read it. It's The Go-Go Boy Sonnets by Edmund Miller. This came out, I want to say, late 2000, like 2004, 2005-ish. Really interesting. It basically does a sonnet devoted to each young man that the poet knew. I quite enjoyed it at the time. It's been a while since I've read it. Really should go back and reread it. And of course, The Moon's Deep Circle by David Hawley. This is a rather weird erotica novel where a young man is trying to figure out why his older brothers disappeared. And he stumbles upon a neo-pagan cult that uses that it's basically like a gay male oriented neo-pagan revival cult. And it is just like, yeah, it's something else. Some parts of it are pretty good. The whole sort of usage of neo-pagan religion is atrocious, to be kind. It's horrific. But anyway, number 7, The Stranger, a book no one seems to have heard of, but you love. I'm going to go with Edward Field's Counting Myself Lucky, Selected Poems 1963 to 1992. I did so Edward Field is one of my favorite poets, although I've gotten rid of 2 of his standalone collections, which I deeply regret. If you've watched my poetry collection of part of my library tour, you will know I had a significantly larger poetry collection than I do now, and I thoroughly regret having got rid of most of them. And I really do want to try to reacquire them and maybe expand that collection some more. But anywho, Edward Field is one of my favorite poets. I did a paper on him in college and quite enjoyed writing it. So yeah, definitely I would say Edward Field. And finally, the number 8. Oh wait, there's 2 more. Number 8. The book was better. An adaptation that was inferior to its novel. There are, well, I have 2 options here. Well, I'm going to go with 2 here. First up is Dune by Frank Herbert. So there have been 2 adaptations. There's a third coming out, but we'll just focus on the 2 that have been released. The first one in the mid-80s was directed by David Lynch, starring Kyle MacLachlan as Paul Atreides. And it's a psychedelic mess. It's not terribly good. There's a bit of a cult element, to it, but it's really bad. And then there was a better version in 2000 produced by the Sci-Fi Channel as a 3-part miniseries. Excuse me. Which was pretty good, although still not comparing as well to the novel. And here it's a lot of that had to do with the acting. Alec Newman as Paul Atreides doesn't quite work. Matthew Kieslar as Feyd-Rautha is, not entirely sure what they were thinking. Of course, given the fact that all 3 members of House Harkonnen have different accents. Ian McNeece's Barons has an English accent. I don't remember who played Raban, but he has an Eastern European, Czech, Slovak. And then Matthew Kieslar has an American accent. It's just bizarre. And of course, you still have the problem of the Harkonnens being more cartoonishly evil than I think they should be presented as. But anyway, so, yeah. It was Dune. And finally, number 9, the author. An author, you would read anything they write. Oh, that's a tough one, and I actually missed this question. But I would say, probably right now I'm thinking maybe I don't know. Let's say with Joanne Fletcher, which I'll get to in my next tag video, but I'll just go with her. And I completely missed this one, so yeah, I'll go with Joanne Fletcher. I'm finding myself that I'm not necessarily like, if a writer has a book I really like, or even 2 or 3 books I really like, that I'm going to love everything they do. And therefore, usually when I approach a book, or a new book by an author I've previously enjoyed, there is some trepidation of whether or not I'm still going to enjoy it as much as previous books, or even not like it, as has happened rather frequently of late. So anyway, and now as for tagging people, if you would like to do this tag, consider yourself tagged. And if you would like me to more specifically tag you, let me know in the comments down below, and I'll try to remember to do that. And also, if you would like me to leave the questions down below too. I typically don't, so if you want to do this tag, you can go back to the original tag creators video, or whoever I learned of this tag from, because I still have the tags. So anyway, that wraps up the Ride or Die tag, and I will see you in a few minutes with another tag. So until then, BookTube, stay safe.